The business will probably do about 1.1 million this year. And again, I always say that because I want to tell people what's possible. Now, I also want to say, I came in with a lot of experience and I'm a little bit crazy. And the team will tell you that, is that we do have a very growth mindset.
Now, that 1.1 million is also gross.
Correct. I don't like the amount of time I spend in the office, but with a business this size, the amount of people we have working for us now, and kind of the level of things we're playing with, is we kind of have to be there. I give that number just to let people know how fast you can scale a business, especially an agricultural business. Because a lot of people talk about, oh, I can't make money farming. I was like, to me, it's not that you can't. It's the question is to choose how I want to make my income. About 90% of those will probably be all picked by the consumer.
Wow, and that saves on so many extra costs for you.
Oh, absolutely,
right?
yes.
Like you're not picking them, and they also get the enjoyment.
Correct.
Of it, right?
So it's a agri experience, as it were, agritourism. What I like to say is to do it well, you've got to grow the crop 80% as well as it could be grown. I'm not the best strawberry grower.
So I don't know if you guys recognize his face, but I was on his podcast a few months ago now.
Yep.
It was a little while ago.
Spring.
Michael Kilpatrick with Growing Farmers, and we are at the actual farm. So tell me a little bit, just broad sense, since most people probably know who you are, but what it is you've got going here, how you got started, why you started here, and what you're doing.
Yeah, so my background is we started farming in upstate New York back in 2003. So we ran that farm for about a decade, Kilpatrick family farm. We were a very mixed farm. We did protein and mostly vegetables though, about 50 to 60 acres of tillable ground, about 15 acres of intensive vegetable production. I mean, we were all raw product.
Okay.
And when I say that, we'll talk about why that's important later. So, I mean, we were producing about 400 to 500 CSA members a year. We fulfilled for them. We did 3 to 4 farmers markets. We did a fair amount of wholesale as well at the end there. I mean, we would have, those big 20 bushel crates of spinach leave the farm. That was kind of scale we were at. Fast forward 2015, I got married in 2013. We had a kid, and so in 2015 we wanted to be in Ohio near my wife's family. So we shut that farm down. At that time we started Growing Farmers, which is a consulting training company, which we still run, but I mean, I love farming. Yeah. And we were in suburbia here in Ohio in town, and we had our whole backyard tilled up pretty much. So people were literally coming and getting bags of vegetables off our front porch. So so we did that until our realtor, after 2 years of looking for another thing, our realtor said, well, I got something for you. It's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit out of your price range. But we probably, so we went and looked at it, and it was this place. It's kind of one of those serendipitous moments, I think, because we had driven by this place dozens of times. And every time I drove by, I was like, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be such a cool place? And I love the house, and we could build this urban farm. So we'd always talked about it. So when we came and realized, oh my gosh, this is literally what we looked at for so long and talked about. So yeah, it was in COVID, it was very challenging. It was a very challenging buyer's market because of the level of scrutiny. We were homeless for a while because we had to go through 3 different lenders before we could find someone that would lend to us. And but we made it work, and so we started building the farm on Central. Very different than what we thought it was going to be. Originally, we thought that we'd be growing everything ourselves on the 8 acres, but really what we've kind of evolved into is being very focused on some very specific things, and then also buying things in. Like this year, we didn't grow any winter squash. We didn't grow any sweet potatoes. We didn't grow any potatoes. Those are large acreage crops. Our community has told us that they want strawberries, and then they want more strawberries, and they finally want more strawberries. So we do a lot of strawberries here, so you'll see it as we walk around. You kind of see all the different ways we do strawberries. And then we do a lot of some root crops. So behind us is a field of carrots here and beets. We do a lot of greenhouse crops, so we do a lot of that. Yeah, we have farm store that's open 5 days a week, and that's where about probably 2/3 of our income's from, about probably 50%. Our online store is about another 30%, so that we do elderberries, we do different fruit plants in the spring, we do our sourdough starters and stuff we sell through there. Garlic, onion sets this time of year is where we sell those. So that's kind of the farm store side of that, and then CSA is about 20 to 25% of our income as well. And we're split up with, we do some off-farm bags, but the reason for building the urban farm on Central was to get people onto the farm. And so that is why we really try to push people into the store. So we do offer a discount if they pick their CSA share up here on site, significantly cheaper. And then we also have a self-bag aspect too. So they actually can just, they come to the store, they look at a little board and they see what they're gonna get. And then they pick that up based on that.
Why is that so important to you?
Because people do not know how their food is grown. Kids don't even know where eggs come from. I mean, there's a percentage, I forget the percentage, that think eggs come from eggplants. Which is, it's scary when you think about that. It's the first year we were open, we had a guy come here, and second year we were open. Guy come here, he was dressed to the nines. He's actually a real estate agent, we found it afterwards. But really nice dressed, and he was in the store, so I'm waiting for my wife and kids to come pick strawberries. He had never picked strawberries. He was in his 50s. 40s, probably 40s. But it just blows my mind that we are so far removed from agriculture that we don't even know how farming is done and how food is produced. So that is important for us to get people onto the site. One of the things we're doing to that end is we're building a whole community engagement area, which is actually on the other side of the driveway, that whole area over there.
Okay.
We're building a pavilion, we're putting a pergola on,
wow.
We're building a kids play area. Around the entire perimeter will be perennial beds with all different natives that people can walk around and look at, like, the history and why those are important. Think like, echinacea and elderberry and, all those many different medicinal herbs and plants. We'll have sage over there and figs, all those things that, hey, you can do this, and here's how easy it is to do this. Wrapped around an area that they can just hang out. So that's important for us. That hopefully will be done by end of 2025. The goal is to have the pavilion up this fall, but we'll see. We're a little bit behind on projects. So, but that's the vision. The business will probably do about 1.1 million this year. And again, I always say that because I want to tell people what's possible. Now, I also want to say, I came in with a lot of experience, and I'm a little bit crazy. And the team will tell you that, is that we do have a very growth mindset.
Now, that 1.1 million is also gross.
Correct.
It's not net.
No, it's not net.
We should specify that because people
yes.
get confused sometimes.
Yes, they do get very confused about that. They're like, well, why are you riding in the Tesla Cybertruck? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of reasons. The first 2 years we ran the business, I think did about 80,000 in losses because, again, we're a very active, growing business. And we were willing to accept those and still invest in the business because we had the end vision of what we want.
Yeah.
So we're investing the first years in greenhouses, in irrigation, in equipment, and all those other things which are making the farm set up for where we want to be, because we had seen what was possible.
Let's walk this way.
Yes.
And we'll start looking at some of your beds, but I want to keep on that subject because I'm interested now. You bought this in 2020 and you're saying the first 2 years. That was only 2 years ago.
Yes.
So you've only been here for 4 years.
Correct.
So you said you're very investment heavy and you already brought up income. How did you get the income, like the money to do those investments? Is it just like loan heavy?
So,
yes. How did that work?
So we did do a USDA beginning farmer loan when we started the first year. So that was $50,000 there. That paid for greenhouses, that paid for some infrastructure, paid for like soil amendments, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Obviously we invested some of our own money. We also do play, again, if you know what you're doing, and if you have good credit scores, you can also play the 0% credit card game. Now you have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Because you have to know where your payoff dates are and things. So we have done a few of those. And again, we're just very careful about that. But here's the thing, a fair amount of my time is spent in the office. And I don't like the amount of time I spend in the office, but with a business this size, the amount of people we have working for us now, and kind of the level of things we're playing with, is we kind of have to be there. But when you look at finance, if I were to go out and get a loan right now, like an operating loan, I would probably be looking at about 12% on the money. Obviously, now you say, well, credit cards are 25% if you have to pay the credit card. If you are rolling over from a 10% to another 0%, you're paying 4%.
On the transfer fee.
On the transfer. So that means that you're actually paying 4% to borrow that money for an entire year. There's no loan out there that will pay you that gives you that kind of return.
Not even with low interest rates.
Not even with low interest rates. And right now we're high interest rates.
Yeah.
So right now, like our house, the property is a personal loan that the business pays rent to all the different businesses, because there's three different entities of the business is how it's all set up.
Okay.
They all pay us rent. Obviously we have our energy and stuff all doled out, so the farm has separate energy bills and all of that.
Okay.
But so again, like the USDA loan, I think is about 4.5% when we took that. And so that actually technically is probably some of the cheapest money. But when you really start looking at your 0% cards, as long as you're not paying them, you're good to go. And this year, so far we've paid them all off. And so it's a matter of, because we're very seasonal cash flow, like when strawberry season, we'll do $9,000 in the store in one day.
Wow.
So our May, I think, was like $120,000 this year, just that. So yeah, so we are seasonal. We know how the business operates at this point, so we feel comfortable. Obviously, you know, if you have a $30,000 credit card bill due and you don't know what you're doing, and all of a sudden it comes up on you, now you're paying, you know, thousands of dollars in interest.
Yeah.
And
you want to quit.
And you want to quit.
Yeah.
Yes. You're like, no. But again, we are significantly into the business enough that we know our cash flow, we know when things are going to be available, we are willing to take that risk. And again, we don't use that to pay payroll, because payroll is one of those things that you have to run off cash flow, because if you don't run it off cash flow, you're going to get worse and worse every single time.
Yeah.
We use the 0% typically is going to be on things like growing supplies. Like, okay, so we put, you know, $1,000 worth of plastic and trays and soil on that we knew that are going to be strawberry plants, which are next year going to give us $20,000.
Right.
We put the bread oven. Actually, the bread oven was actually one of those 3 months free. They just let you extend it for 3. But like our freeze dryer, we did that on credit card because we knew that would give us an ROI.
Yeah.
We knew the ROI that we'd get on that. So obviously, yes, going back to the whole finance part, we put some of our own money in, definitely some of our own money in. The USDA loan, we do have some 0% cards, but we're also just very, very frugal. It's amazing when you really run the numbers. It's amazing what you can live on if you have to.
I feel that.
Like we go, like again, so like my wife and I, we go to the movies twice a year.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we don't have, like, it's interesting. Some people talk about how they go weekly and play golf. I went 2 months ago for the first time in my life to play golf because I was invited to go for free. Because I'm on city council and they needed someone to go. So they're like, hey, we got this. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And at the end, I was like, I just literally wasted 3 hours of my life and I didn't even play 18 holes. I don't know how anyone does this. But there are people, that's their life. And that is 100% fine. But again, as a startup business, that's not going to be us.
Yeah.
You know, our money is made getting carrots to grow and out of the field into the customer's hands, not necessarily made, you know, doing deals on the golf course. That's just not our business model. So that's kind of, you know, that's where we are. We also are very good at looking at opportunities and capitalizing on that. So we know what crops we need to grow here to make the business run. Salad mix, we grow a tremendous amount of lettuce because that is something that our customers have told us they want and they want a lot of. So, I mean, other things too is we'll run the numbers. Like, I mean, seriously, just looking at these parking lot spacers right here.
Yeah.
We knew we needed them for the thing. They're about $100 new if you go get the nice ones. I paid $10 each for these. The crew painted them, and it took about, you know, again, we ran the numbers on them. The final aspect is like $25 each. So we just saved ourselves $75 each on those. It was definitely something we need for our parking lot because of people parking all over the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're always running those numbers, seeing where we can be, you know, some of the things that we plant. So like over there, those
Let's go look at it.
Yes. So this right here is lavender. So this is a crop we do annually. We don't harvest this is obviously as much as we should. There's a lot that just kind of went to waste here. This is what it looks like harvested.
Obviously, I didn't realize that.
Yes, so you just cut it right back. And then this is all the stems that did not get harvested. In June, standing out here is the most relaxing thing ever. It just smells like so much lavender. So we do U-pick and we do cut bunches. And actually this year we didn't do anywhere near as much cut as we should have. We're sold out, and we have online customers saying, hey, we need more. And like, sorry, folks. Like, we just didn't think we'd have the demand. So it was a mistake, but we'll do more next year. But
yeah,
let's look at this section over here. This right here is gonna be, it's a perennial bed. We got a raspberry on the corner. We actually got a couple different types of raspberries planted here. They were planted this year, this was last year. So what I wanted was a raspberry plant that as I walk out every day, I can eat the raspberries in the fall.
Yeah.
There's no raspberries yet, but
it's also really hot right now.
Yes, it's also really hot, and this variety is super late, so it will give us later on. But we also have figs. So there's a bunch of figs all through here. A lot of people don't know that you can do figs this cold. Again, these things need water, but you can see all the figs on there.
Yeah,
they're loaded with figs, but they're actually drying up. So they're so dry, it's just drying right up. So I need to get water on these. But we've also got, watch yourself there. Okay. We've also got some comfrey plants. So in the spring, those actually get chopped and dropped like 3 times before this all kind of builds up.
Okay.
And then we also we've also got sage. So this is something, this was 3 sage plants that were planted, and this now gives all the sage that we could ever use for the entire farm.
Wow.
So that's one of the things that we just do. It's a lot of, oh, and then in the middle here, You can kind of barely see it. It's a little bit overgrown, but this right here is a male kiwi.
Oh.
So the male kiwi, this is the second year. It really is ready to be trellised, but it's gonna be trellised up over this box to cool the box. And then it will pollinate the other kiwis that are, there's some kiwis over there that are looking super dry as well.
So you're basically using this area as like coverage for this.
Yes, coverage
building.
and profit.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
so what we'll do with the figs is we'll cut the figs to the ground. All that fig wood is now sold as cuttings.
Oh.
The raspberries don't give us any money, they're just nice for me. The comfrey, if we wanted to, we could dig that up and sell the cuttings.
Okay.
These are more just decorative, so we do the comfrey production on a larger scale other places. So we'll do that other places.
Okay.
And then this is the sage is just for the farm.
Gotcha.
So we are working that direction of like integrating everything. Like over there, that's all canna lilies.
Oh.
Those canna lilies will be dug up. You can actually eat canna lilies. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, I don't say they're great to eat. We did try them. They're kind of, they taste a little bit like a Jerusalem artichoke, a little bit like a water chestnut, but they don't really have as much flavor, and they're a lot softer when they cook. But they're edible. It's one of those things. To me, I could say they're starvation food because one plant can give you a root ball like this after 1 year. Oh, it's tremendous. Wow. So that's another one right here. This is our ram's horn willow. And that is, that will be cut back to the ground pretty much every year. And then those are all cuttings, which we sell online and sell in the retail store as well. So yeah, we definitely do try to, our landscaping, try to figure out what we can profit on with our landscaping.
Yeah. Because you said it's only 8 acres here.
Correct.
And when you think about how big you are, and if you're doing
Yes.
1.1 million
Yes.
gross income right now, I mean,
Yes.
on 8 acres.
Yes. Now,
holy
granted, it's
cannoli.
on the online store. Some of that is product we bring in and then it goes back out. So that's not 1.1 on this, but it's, I give that number just to let people know how fast you can scale a business, especially an agricultural business. Because a lot of people talk about, oh, I can't make money farming. I was like, to me, it's not that you can't. It's the question is to choose how I want to make my income, because there's a lot of ways you can choose. This is turmeric right here.
Oh yeah.
This is one of our 2 turmeric houses. This is a little on the small side this year, but there's a couple different varieties in here. One of these is green turmeric, one of these is blue turmeric, and then we just have regular turmeric on the outsides. Okay. So this is one of those houses there. We try to plant between, so this was you pick flowers this year. It's a little bit past and a little bit overgrown, but again, it's one of those things. You spend $30 in the store, you get to come pick free flowers. And when someone's at 20 bucks, they always mention it. Hey, you know, when you get $30, you get free flowers. What does that cost me to produce? I mean, like $6 in seed and a couple hours, an hour to plant it.
And I'm sure, like you said, being in suburbia, people enjoy being out here with
Correct.
growth, with beautiful flowers. I mean, they might live only in an apartment or have a tiny little yard for their house. They don't have access to this openness, so that they can just spend 10 extra dollars on food that they're going to eat.
Correct.
And get some beautiful flowers and enjoy doing it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's so great.
Now, this wasn't the best place to plant them. Got a little bit tight in here, and I watched people come up and like, you know, and I was like, okay. So, I mean, I just, you know, start walking through there, but it's interesting to watch the consumer. And that's something we try to do just to kind of see how people move through the store, move through here, because it's really interesting. So next year, mode pathways, it'll probably be over in the customer engagement area, so it'll be really easy. Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about then like this, a little bit of this transition.
Yes.
So you went from a family farm in New York.
Yes.
So obviously you had all that experience.
Yes.
And you came here and you just kind of like hit the ground running, but talk through like some of the difficulties of maybe that transfer. Yeah, like that, that change.
Up in New York, I don't think I ever had a conversation with any government regulator or person other than the local extension. We'd ask them to come over and look at stuff. And one time they were like, hey, your food safety is not up to par. Here's a book, please read it. Please understand what's going on here. That was the only interaction we ever had.
Wow. Was that just because of New York's regulations or because of your capacity?
So here's the exact thing. And this is actually, you know, now that I think back on it, it was a huge safety issue. We had it was organic chemicals, but we had our chemical shelf in our cooler on the top shelf, and we had bins of produce underneath it. The thing is there, again, you're not supposed to store chemicals with produce.
Okay.
For starters.
Right.
Plus they were above so they could fall down.
Yeah.
Again, we were, this was when we were probably like 22, 23. Again, we had no idea.
Okay.
So we did move them out of there. We put them in bins, different places like that. So that was the big thing. That was just the one thing that they were. Here we've dealt with ODA, we've dealt with city zoning, we've dealt with EPA, we've dealt with, we haven't had labor yet. I'm sure they'll be by, but I mean, I can tell them all my accounts are perfectly legal. But
so why? What's the big difference?
So because we're in city limits, that's the big one.
Okay.
So we were within the city limits, and there's only certain things you can do. So when we moved onto this property, we wanted to put a retail store on the abandoned lot across the street. We were going to have to spend $120,000 in compliance.
Wow.
Parking lot, lighting plans, sidewalks, ADA compliant bathrooms, all this kind of stuff. Literally just to open a retail store that would have been the size of a 2-car garage. Here on this property, it ties you up with a lot of things. Like we built this, and because we're agriculture, we don't need a building permit.
Okay.
But we have to have floodplain, we have to be compliant with floodplain compliance. So there's this whole thing, we have to get drawings and we have to build these new vents and stuff so the floodplain can go through. Now, why do we have a floodplain here? Because FEMA lost a whole bunch of money in something called Katrina and they had to now pay for all these billions of dollars. So they just decided to randomly, these look close enough, we're gonna just make sure those are all, floodplains. Yeah, this neighborhood, 30 years ago was not floodplain, but now it is. We've never had a flood. Except one time when government, when they were building that bridge, they didn't build the underbit properly. And so water backed up in one flood event. And so they fixed it, we never had it since. But it's one of those things. Yes. Okay. So I'll stop there. So ODA was in our business because we're a private membership. And that's how we produce, that's how we have the kitchen, that's how we do our fire starters and stuff like that.
Okay.
They didn't like that. Let's see, who else? EPA, because we want to do our kitchen. And EPA gets involved because they have to sign off any private water source. And so their reasoning, and I don't know if this is actually their reasoning or this is the agent that I spoke to, that if someone touches the countertop in our store, they are now a user of our private water system because the counter would have been cleaned with that water from our private water system. Not that they used our bathroom or drunk our water or washed their hands. It was the literal fact that they touched the countertop and that they are now a part of our private water system. Okay. And when you have over 25 people a part of your private water system over 60 days, you now are a private water plant. And now the EPA has to inspect that and sign off on that. And the timeline for them to sign off on something like that is 6 to 9 months.
Oh my.
Oh yes. So anyway, you can see why, now granted, I will say that obviously here on this operation, we also deal with, because we're a licensed nursery, we deal with the plant inspection. And they're great. John is a great inspector. He comes out, he shows me what I'm looking at. He says, this is what you want to do. 90% of what he's looking at, he's just saying, hey, spray this or spray that. Yeah. So it's not a big deal, but it's just the number of different agencies we deal with.
Yeah. I think that's something that I definitely didn't even think of when you do relocate, that what you got away with, I should say in quotations. Yes. You necessarily won't be able to wherever you move to, right? Like
correct. Yeah. So in city limits is a huge thing. Yeah. Try to get in a township or just outside of city limits. Typically, you're going to be in town. I don't even know what we were in New York. It's one of those things. I wasn't even thinking about that kind of stuff. I was growing food. Yeah. That's what we focused on every day. But obviously, the types of products, because we're doing processing, that's a big, anything you do that changes a raw form, they want to be involved in. I'm surprised we actually haven't had the ODA show up about us being an actual farm, because FEMA, or not FEMA, but Food Modernization Act, over a certain size, they're going to want to show up and inspect and all this kind of stuff too. Now, granted, they've had this now, because this was just getting into in 2016, 2017. So now we have, 6 or 8 years of experience with this. And it's interesting that the numbers of foodborne illness has not dropped since they implemented all these tens of millions of dollars of regulation on the small farms. So it's one of those, anyway. Now, granted, I think and it's interesting, the size of the farms that we have these outbreaks is, I mean, like, if anyone noticed that the listeria outbreak with boar's head that happened a couple months ago. Yeah. The plant, and I went and read the reports, the plant had a infraction literally every single day, sometimes multiples a day, hundreds of infractions. The plant is now completely permanently closed and shuttered because it was that bad. But the inspectors were there every single day and were writing them up, but they never got shut down.
Until something
listeria happened, people died. People died all across the U.S. So it's one of those things, like, and we're worried about, you know, these small farms. Now, obviously, we take food safety very seriously. We sanitize everything that goes to the wash pack. We train our people that are harvesting. You know, we do regular training, all that kind of stuff. So, because I'm a certified trainer on it, because I did that in between farming upstate and farming down here. Again, we're very cognizant about that. It's just sometimes, you know, I think they say, I forget who's responsible for the quote, we're very good at hitting the wrong bullseye. And I absolutely believe that. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge in where we are, what we're doing. We produce probably one quarter of the poundage of produce we do here compared to New York.
Wow.
But that business, in our best years, we were doing about $500,000 in sales. But so we were just, the product we were selling was just going at a much lower per pound price.
Yeah.
Part of it's due with inflation, because we definitely had some inflation, but a lot of it is because, you know, we're processing our stuff further. Like now we sell like prepared salads.
Right.
Now we have the whole bakery aspect of things. So we're now doing a lot of that in-house too. I mean, but too also is like in the store, we don't just carry our product too. So
we'll go see that.
We'll go see that
towards
and
the
show
end.
you kind of like the different things we produce versus bringing in as
right,
well. So,
right.
Yeah.
Let's walk over here and talk here on the other side. So you said that strawberries are like a really big part of what the farm is doing. So how did that come to be? You talked about like finding your consumer demand, and they just want strawberries and more strawberries. So talk a little bit about how you kind of figured all
and so
that out.
actually what we're walking by here is actually a crop of day neutral berries, which we probably won't do again.
What does that mean?
Day neutral is where you plant them in the spring and then they come in midsummer all the way through late fall. So we're still looking at a couple months of production off this. You can see there's berries in here. They've definitely been hurt by the drought, even though they've been irrigated. This year we've had there's been a major disease outbreak in the strawberry world. It will probably hurt the strawberry crop for 2025 by 20 to 30% across the entire industry. It's that bad.
Wow.
We unfortunately did get sun contaminated plant material coming in. And because of that, so we culled all of that. We had to dumpster 27,000 plugs. Yeah, so it was a huge deal. But we've been on a very aggressive schedule with some of the organic things we've been able to treat with anything that was left. And we, at this point, have positive tests that have come back. So we should be clean. The rest of the farm should be clean. But as part of that, we try to use any challenge as a learning opportunity. And so a part of that was like, okay, so it probably would be not a bad idea to have a complete break of strawberries on our farm. So that's why these should not be here, because when we do annual bed system, we turn them under in June, and then the first plant material comes late August. So that gives us about a 60-day window or so that no strawberries are growing on the farm.
So if there was a contaminant, it would be dead by the time the new strawberries came up.
That's the absolute goal.
Gotcha.
So that is something that we're thinking about. So probably in the future we'll never do day neutrals again, just because of that aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of hours we spent researching and trying to figure this out and talking to people about this. I mean, it's brutal. I mean, it will really, probably the company that sent us the bad product, I don't know, they probably got out of business because it was so bad.
Wow.
They are trying not to refund us for the infected plant material. I'm like, I dumpstered it. It was that bad. You guys really should just give me a credit. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, strawberries are a big aspect. We'll show some fields out here. Let's poke into this greenhouse right here. One of the other things is because we're small, we try to not let any square footage be unused. This is chives right here. There's a bed here, those 2 more beds, which could be planted, that should be planted, that haven't been. But that's the kind of stuff we're trying to think about. Every square foot, what can we do in that?
Yeah.
This whole row of willows will be mowed to the ground, and all those cuttings go all across the U.S.
Wow.
For people to grow for different things. But yeah, that's another thing. That's a habitat strip. And if you can't quite see it, but there's some birds flitting in there. And the birds that are flitting in there, they are pest control. So they're nesting, they are going all over the place, eating caterpillars and bugs and all that kind of thing. The willows produce catkins in the spring, and that's pollen for the bees. That's the first source of bees. So that's one thing we're really passionate about, is how can we build these pollinator habitat or just general habitat through the farm. Unfortunately, on the flip side, we do get rabbits that run up and down there, so that is a little bit of a problem. Anyway, and it's a little too big. They're growing too much every year. I think it's too fertile in there or something, but here's a problem.
Some kind of problem to have.
Yeah, some kind of problem to have there, but that is one aspect there. So this is a house we put up a little bit later. End of the tomatoes, they do not look so great right now. One thing I did want to point out though is pole beans. So these are pole beans here, and we're actually just getting ready to start we've been picking these for about a week or so, but you can see how many beans are on there. Yeah. And with our tunnels, we typically are very spring heavy, and we were struggling to find a late fall crop. So this is going to be perfect. I love it right now. We haven't even started really heavily picking, and look at all the flowers. And what will happen is they'll grow up, and they'll just kind of keep growing along these poles, and we'll probably go till probably late frost. So probably end of, probably late October in here with these.
Yeah.
Then they'll get pulled out. We'll put late greens in. Celery, everyone tells you to, cut the celery head. We just pick the outside leaves. So we're constantly coming in and just taking off 3 to 4 leaves off every plant, and we'll just work our way down the bed. And that one's a little bad. But basically we'll get 3 to 4 bunches per plant instead of a one-time harvest. Oh. So that's literally taking this bed, and then we will harvest this for all the way probably until Thanksgiving off this one bed.
Wow. And I've heard too that celery is actually one of the easiest crops to grow.
It's very easy.
People think it's hard, and it's like one of the easiest.
Water, lots of water, lots of calcium, lots of nitrogen.
Yeah.
If you can do that, it's very easy to grow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit of leaf diseases, but if you grow it fast enough, you'll typically outgrow the leaf diseases. It's typically, low fertility is that issue.
Gotcha.
You can't quite see it, but that end, there's more figs down there.
Oh yeah, I do see the leaves.
We grow those against the north ends of the greenhouse because it never shades the crop inside, and it's free warm space.
Yeah.
So this is a fall brassica field. We experimented a little bit last year with growing teff between. Teff is a very warm season grass. So we experimented last year with growing that. We didn't get it in time. This year I think we nailed it. It's actually,
why is it a benefit? What does it do?
So a couple reasons. Typically we would go ahead and put straw down. But manually hand spreading straw in this entire field is a lot of work. And at the time of year it needs to go in, we've got like 16 other things that need the hours. So it takes one guy about 5 minutes to go up and down each row. So in 2 hours, he's on the entire field. We just water it heavily for the next 3 days. It sets the plants as well as it gets the teff germinated, and then we can walk away. It prevents other weeds. It keeps the team clean when they're going through and harvesting. It helps prevent upsplash. Now, again, a little space that didn't quite get in all the way. Yeah. We will have some splash there, but it prevents erosion if we were on a hill or a slope. We are not on a slope here, so we do not need to worry about that. But it's also creating just more life. And again, we're just all about growing as much diversity in life as possible. So next year we'll probably put in clover too. So we'll probably do like a dwarf Dutch clover or something like that. Now, granted, in the spring, we'll go ahead and lift the plastic, or even in the fall, we'll lift the plastic, but at least there's some sort of, nitrogen fixing as well going on. Yeah. It won't be that much, but it'll be some.
This little bird loves me.
Yes.
It keeps going on my leg.
So we've got cauliflower here, we got broccoli, we got a lot of cabbages, got some kale and stuff over there, and then we just got regular radishes, arugula, some more beets over there. We're getting ready to put another load of lettuce in over there, and then that's all blackberries beyond that.
Nice. And then that's your property line. You don't.
Yes, that's the property line. So this was a whole hedgerow here, and as we were thinking about, okay, like running out of space on the farm, this whole hedgerow was taking up space, and it was pretty much all junk trees, hackberry, honeysuckle, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we ripped that all out. We've put over there. We've put sea berries, more elderberries, more willows. We're gonna probably put some larger fruit trees, so like some apples. Yeah. And we'll mainly go for varieties that are good for like just cider sauce. So we'll do that in there. We'll probably put some peaches over there. We can do peaches in Ohio. We're not the best topography because we're flat, so frost stays. But again, we can try it. So we'll fill that all in. Again, it's one of those things. When you realize how many square feet that takes up, it was about maybe a quarter acre. It's another quarter acre that we can use. Yeah, yeah. So over here though, this is strawberries. So this is one of our field of strawberries. Again, strawberries are very important for us. These were planted about 2 to 3 days ago, so they're literally still
just got in the ground.
Just got in the ground. Yeah. They're still looking a little sad. But with strawberries for us is what we started with strawberries was we planted 6 beds. And actually, the plants came from another farmer I got some plants from him. We planted them. They did really well. People were like lining up to buy them. And we didn't do any U-pick that year, but people could set up because I want to pick them ourselves. And a town over, there used to be a U-pick spot. And so we said, okay, we'll put some more in. So we did. We sold out of U-pick slots almost immediately.
Wow.
So it really rapidly, and again, people are paying what we would have charged in New York, and they're doing the harvesting themselves. And so we started thinking about it. We're like, okay, we got to go in deep into this. This year we'll do about 1.5 acres. About 90% of those will probably be all picked by the consumer.
Wow. And that saves on so many extra costs for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Like you're not picking them, and they also get the enjoyment.
Correct.
Of it, right?
So it's a agri experience, as it were, agritourism. We teach people how they grow. A lot of people talk about, oh, well, if I have them come out, they're going to step on the beds and they're going to steal my berries and all that. Well, okay, sure, maybe you. But and we've had a few problems, but we have rules, and we're very clear that if they break the rules, they will not come back. We are the only in this area early organic farm. So like there's another very small farm that does U-pick, but they literally, usually we shut and then they open because they're doing matted row, we do annual bed.
Okay.
So annual bed is where you plant in the fall, you harvest in the spring, and you turn them under.
Yeah.
And again, obviously with these diseases moving in, it's really good to have that really nice annual cycle because you won't keep it for year to year. So we are typically, last year we started picking May 10th. And we were done by June 1st.
Okay.
The year before we did run a 6-week cycle. So I think this year we'll be back to that. We kind of extend that cycle with different varieties. And and when we get to the other farm, I'll show you, there is half of it's on white plastic, half of it's on black plastic. Half of it will be mulched, half will not be mulched. So again, we're extending that season by just kind of treating them a little bit differently.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, it's a big deal. This will all get plastic mulch between it. So we'll come in and straw everything down through here. On that part of the field though, we did put more teff. So we were experimenting with that over there. We'll see. That's going to winter kill, and then we'll see how well that does. I mean, it's kind of grown up substantially here. You can see just how much grass is in there. It's really tall. The plants don't seem to care. They seem to be okay. Now these are bare roots that were planted, and this section right here is bare roots. So that's why they're a little bit more established. But yeah, we're always trying different things with that. Yeah, so that's why strawberries are a big part of our, and the thing about strawberries is everyone loves strawberries.
Yeah.
And it kind of, our funnel, our marketing funnel, is obviously we have multiple at this point. We have the bakery, which is actually a marketing funnel. We got the store, which is just a marketing funnel. But people love strawberries, they want to pick strawberries. So the goal with us is to use the greenhouses so that when they start coming May 10th to pick strawberries, there's a bountiful cornucopia of produce and wonderful things in the store.
Yeah.
Then they can say, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And so then then they're a regular attendee to the farm.
Yeah.
That's kind of like how we've kind of built that, and it seems to be working. We average about 300 customers a week in the store, or 300 visits.
I mean, when I got here early.
Yeah.
And which is, like never happens for me with small kids. And I was like, oh, just like walk around the store. And I was like, oh, I'll just wait until those customers are out, and then I'll talk to the lady and tell you I'm here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I need to get in line because people just keep coming in. I mean, it is very busy.
Yeah. So on Saturdays, Saturdays are busiest day. We do about 130 visits on a Saturday.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
that's crazy.
It is pretty much packed. But yeah, we'll walk through here. This is our pack and wash. It's not done. We built it last fall. We still have to do some rearranging and all that kind of stuff. This is Monica. Monica is
Hi.
She's working on ginger. Yeah.
We learned about ginger when we were in the South.
Yeah.
Like the deep South.
Yeah, so this is ours.
Nice.
Now this year, our ginger is really suffering. It's not doing as well. We switched houses on it, and it went into a tomato house, which has different nutrient requirements than ginger.
Yeah.
And so if you, again, going back to what our soil consultant says, it's like people talk about rotation because different crops use different nutrients. But if you replace those nutrients, there's no need to change. Healthy crops resist disease and bugs. And so why would you change? Because you're creating the perfect environment for that crop and then keep it there year after year. So
that makes sense.
We're working towards that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a perfect thing, but I definitely see the advantage of that. So, that's definitely something that we are starting to think about. And when we see it in like crops like this.
Yeah.
Because last year, we were pulling out 4-pound clusters of ginger. Just beautiful ginger. And this year, you know, I think we turned the crop around. We definitely figured out what was going on. We turned it around. It's just not going to be anywhere near what we had last year. So,
Gotcha. So you said like you built this.
Yeah, so this is the original barn.
Okay.
And then from there, this way is what we built last fall. This end is the wash and pack, and we're still setting it up. It's still, you know, slowly work in progress.
Yeah.
That whole end is supposed to be coolers.
Okay.
Right now it's a partial cooler, but the goal is to pour, you know, a floor and foam in the floor and then build a whole shell because we just need more cooler space.
Yeah. Wow.
We have 3 coolers right now, and pretty much during the summer they're just packed.
So talking like with infrastructure, and we talked about, you know, money in the beginning, how many people are you employing throughout the year?
Monica, what's the average? 7 people, 8 people show up in morning meeting?
Per meeting, yeah, but I'm employing probably about 12 or 15, closer to 12 or 15.
Yeah.
At a time.
Like
is that seasonally, or is that all your?
So in the winter, our core team stays for the winter.
Okay.
So like department heads and like just certain people like are full time, they stay here. We also have like our younger kids that are in school. They know that, yep, when we're done in the fall, they're done. Then hopefully they just focus on their school and then come back next spring.
Yeah.
And then we have some people that are they like to be around the farm. So like we have one driver who literally, I mean, we work out deals in a while, but a lot of times he's just like, you pay my gas and I'll go get it. In the wintertime, one of our team will do that. And so
Gotcha.
he just won't do anything during the wintertime.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things that we kind of like adjust. And a lot of people just go down in hours in the wintertime. But I mean, that was one of the reasons for a year-round store and not doing farmers markets. I've done farmers markets. We did up in New York, we ran the numbers. I've done well over 1,000 farmers markets.
Wow.
And again, they can be a fun event, but we've got 3 young kids. And I don't want to have to get up at 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday morning, load 3 trucks, drive the markets, and then be done at 4 o'clock and be exhausted.
Yeah.
Now, I'm still up at 6:30 on Saturday, and at 5 o'clock when we close, I'm still exhausted, but it's a different type of exhaustion. Saturdays are now really my time because I'm with the team all week, and then my projects all kind of lump together on Saturday. And I can do the projects around here, which allows me to be available for the store because it's busy, and that's when customers want to talk to me and all of that. There's different ways of doing things.
Right.
I'm not saying there's no one right way. You know, farmers markets are a very profitable business model. They can be. But at this point, our store, I would never get rid of the store.
Yeah.
Never.
No, that's awesome. I love that. So
All right.
Speaking of the store,
yes.
Can we go look at it real quick?
Let's go look at the store.
And so we talked about.
Well, this is our kitchen.
Oh yeah.
This is our non-official kitchen here. So in the kitchen, we've got, this is Quentin, who does our baking and just is in charge of the whole kitchen lead. This is Devin. Devin does all sorts of things here. She does a lot of CSA stuff. She also helps in here. She's also our professional, #1 rated bean picker.
What a title. That's awesome.
But yeah, she does, she's doing squash chips. So we take seconds on squash, we marinate them, and then they go into the freeze dryer.
Okay.
And so yeah, this is the freeze dryer. What do we got? Anything or just pre-chilling? We're pre-chilling. Yeah. So this is pre-chilling. We do all sorts of things. We've done blackberries. We've done corn. We've done herbs. The herbs we're not 100% sure on how we like those. Watermelon has been
I'm
crazy
really curious
popular.
to try that on my way home.
Watermelon's been crazy. Tomatoes. We had yogurt that they dropped the case when they got it to us, so a bunch of the things had broken open. So we can't sell that, but it was still good. So we ran it through the freeze dryer, and it's the weirdest thing, and like it really doesn't constitute well. So we should have turned it into like probably put fruit in it and like turned it into those little yogurt bites they have for kids.
Oh yeah.
That would have been ideal. We didn't. We're experimenting. This is our first year of running it. We also have a couple dehydrators too.
Okay.
And then we got a giant dehydrator out there. But yeah, this is our kitchen. We do bread, croutons, granola, bagels, scones. We do some cookies. We're not really super big into the cookies. The crew tells me the margin's not there.
Yeah.
But I still like cookies.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like to eat a good cookie?
Yeah, so yeah, we're definitely working on that.
Thanks, guys.
So that's that. Yeah, the store here. So originally this was our barn, and I actually have pictures of this literally with like, you know, pallets of fertilizer sitting in here, racks. And then the first couple of years of the farm, we were operating out of a bus, and I can give you some pictures of that if you want to put that in.
Whoa, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so we had basically a it was a transit bus, so the low floor bus.
Okay.
And we ripped all the seats and stuff out and put in coolers and all that kind of stuff. And it was self-checkout. Saturday in January, when we had like a line out the door, I was like, we gotta do something else. So that's when we started spending the money on building this.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you talked about all the all of
Yes.
the products that you have, but you also
Yes.
have other farms
so
products
this
in here.
this is a dairy that's in Southwest Ohio. Obviously the butter comes from further afield because there's no local butter. Eggs are from we have local eggs, so just like home flock people that bring us 4 or 5 dozen at a time.
Oh.
And then we have a larger certified organic one that brings in cases of eggs.
Yeah.
We do like the corn salsa, we do like the dips, we do actually some yogurt too, and some dressings and stuff there. We do our own pickles, cowboy candy. We bring in like the krauts. We do our own sriracha. We do zoodles and cut up watermelon and cantaloupe. And then this is like raw veg. So this is our radishes and green beans and scallions and cucumbers and microgreens. We are very low on salad. They need to do that right now. But we also bring in lemons and limes, which on one aspect it drives me nuts. Really, when we started the farm, Ohio, especially where we are, we're the Rust Belt. We are the south edge of the Rust Belt. I mean, obviously cars were being made up in Michigan, but in Dayton it was GE, GM, Duramax diesel is still up there. The old GM plant is now a auto glass plant, huge auto glass plant. Wow. They're putting a chip manufacturer up there now, and actually like potato chip manufacturer. Wow. But I mean, there was hundreds of thousands of jobs in this area. AK Steel, which is in Middletown, is only a shell of what it used to be, but huge industry. Yeah. What comes with industry? Pollutants. My wife's grandfather died from asbestos from working at all the plants. Wow. And so when you think about all that, hurting and disease, what better thing than we could do to bring to this area is a small local organic food store, which teaches people and shows people, and we have like sourdough classes and all that kind of canning classes and eating healthy classes too, all that kind of stuff in this area. So that was, okay, so then that's 30,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Let's microsize that to the lemons and the avocados and the limes. Is people want to shop with us, but they also have to go to the grocery store and buy the organic lemons and limes. And so we're like, okay, fine, we'll carry those, because what that does is it gives them another reason to stop here. Because now they know, well, they've got those other things I need. In the wintertime, we do carry bananas. In the summer, because right now we have so many apples, it's like, don't carry bananas.
Yeah.
But in the wintertime, we do carry bananas. I never thought we'd be that.
Wow.
But when you think about it, it's like we want to create a mini place that means they're going to shop here all the time.
I love that you mentioned that, because I myself have had negative thoughts about farm stands, and I see Dole bananas. And I'm like...
And we do carry Dole bananas.
What? What are we talking about here? But I love the way you phrase that, because that's so true, where you're kind of, for lack of a better economic term, capturing their whole wallet.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
to take it away from like the customer's money perspective, you're capturing their whole appetite.
Correct.
Where you're like,
yes.
You've got salsa, you have chips.
Yes, we have chips up
you
there.
probably have somebody who makes chips.
They're from Kentucky.
Yep.
So they're a farmer. I met the farmer, and they bring us they're wonderful chips.
So
too.
you know that they're going to want avocado on it too.
Correct. Absolutely.
And I love that you mentioned that. Thank you for pointing that out, because that opens my eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not as judgy now.
And I used to be very judgy myself on all this stuff. I was like, anyone who brings in something that's not theirs, they shouldn't do that. But then I was like, well, I don't want to have an apple orchard. And we have Scott. He's an hour away. He's in Dark County, produces wonderful apples, as low pesticide and spray as possible. He doesn't use any Roundup under his trees, which is a huge thing, because then it all chelates right into the apples. Right. So no Roundup. He produces great cider. We carry his cider all winter. He freezes it. We buy it by the case and bring it and put it in here. So, those are the kinds of things that we're like, we can be one. So they don't want to drive an hour. One of the things we realized, like year 2, we were saving people a round trip of 380 miles. Because where they would have had to go to pick up all these products.
Or saving them from going to Walmart.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, Walmart is the largest conventional organic buyer in the U.S., but a lot of that organic is not fit to eat, because a lot of that's now coming from hydroponic operations, because that's legal now in organics for some reason. So, no soil. But yeah, that's the kind of things we're thinking. We have this is Rosebuds. She's a local, she makes all these spices and rubs and stuff. And she got her business started when she wanted to dip rub and realized there was not one that didn't have MSG and all those other things.
I feel that to my core.
Yes. So, she is, there's no Let me just see if there's ingredients on this. Yeah, organic nutritional yeast, organic vegetable blend, apple cider vinegar granules, organic. No, preservatives and no of these other things.
Or what Paul and I are finding, like in Parmesan cheese, there's wood shavings. And like the
in
shaker
Parmesan
bun.
tree?
In Parmesan cheese?
Really?
Yeah, the cellulose that's in there is wood shavings.
Well,
Yep.
I mean, as the business side, and just like I can sell wood.
Right? You can just.
But yes, I mean,
easy-
no, we do not want to eat that. We want
Right.
to eat cheese.
Or I don't remember what he said he found the other day, but it's got silica in it. Like
Yes.
silicone, like a right.
Oh, and like we already know that
not
that's
the
not
soil
good. Yes.
silica, like silicone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that has, that's so bad for you.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
love that
Yeah.
you're helping businesses like that
Yeah.
showcase their
Yeah.
product.
This product is from Maine, but I've had them on the podcast. Fabulous company, Singing Pastures. They started in Missouri, went to Maine. They're actually now a network of farms, all raised on pasture.
Wow.
And basically a better snack stick, and it's a really good snack stick. The pineapple is the best.
Oh.
This actually, olive oil is from Israel. So it's small
Okay.
batch from farms, think what you want of Israel, but they're still farmers too. And I'm glad that we can support a small family farm that produces organic olive oil.
In an area that
yes.
should be producing olives.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Very
these
cool.
are from California. This is basically it's an orchard in California, and they produce dried fruit, no sulfur. So again, it's done
Wow.
traditionally where they lay them out and on the trays in the sun and slowly does that. So
Wow.
yeah, that's these are
I
all
love
the
it.
kinds of things that we're
And,
doing in here.
And even if you have, I see like your food membership club,
Yes.
they come and pick up their food, but they can also get other
Correct.
things that they
Yes.
need. It's not just this.
Yes.
This.
We
You're-
use it to lure them in.
Yeah, you're being like really a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes, yeah.
Now, we talked about like the future of the farm, and
Yes.
you've got another farm
Correct.
that you want
Yes.
us to take a look at.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
we want to
We'll
go
pop
there?
over there.
Okay,
Check it
so
out.
that's where we'll finish out.
Yeah. We started about right there and did all that.
So this is separate from
Yeah, so
the
this
main
is-
farm. How did you acquire this, and why
Yeah,
did
so
you acquire
we've
this?
been looking for new ground since probably year 3,
Okay.
year 2 or 3.
New as in more?
More.
Oh, yeah.
So thing is, like we do strawberries. Strawberries, they have straw in the name. So you really want to use straw to mulch them. But buying weed-free straw is incredibly expensive. This year we spent $7 a bale, and the bales weren't great.
And spray free too. That can be
Spray
difficult
free, yeah,
too.
spray free and weed free, because most of the guys, what they like to do is they like to take a grain crop off and then sell you the straw. But the problem with that is they always got grain in that. And if you try to store straw that has grain in it, the mice get into it and destroy it. And then when you put it out here, you literally just seeding all that grain down and giving it the perfect environment to grow. So what you need to do is get them to grow weed free, which means they grow the rye, they cut it in pollen, and they bale it and all that kind of stuff. So basically you get to tie up an entire field. So we were able to convince someone to do it this year, but it was just pretty expensive, very expensive.
Gotcha.
So part of adding this to the farm was to give us rotation, because we grow enough strawberries now that's hard to not have the same ground touch strawberries within a 12-month period. So we needed more ground for that. We needed the ground to grow our own straw. We also want to do more perennial crops, like we do. We grow comfrey roots for sale. We grow sells tremendous amount of comfrey roots, and so we just needed more space for that.
Yeah.
This allows that. This is actually still within city limits. This is actually the edge, like that tree line is the edge of the city. But in this field is actually weird because the landowner, which is right here, has that. But then about where that thing of weeds is, from that to the tree line is actually the local sewer district. This is a sewer line that goes down to the next city. So they own that, he owns this, so it was a really complicated deal to kind of get both of them worked out to lease it. But the nice thing is we have an 8-year lease on this, rolling, so every 2 years we renew. We've already sunk $7,000 in with a well. We're about to spend another 20 grand. It'll probably be next year to put in electric, our own electric, and then a variable speed, VBR, variable speed, is that how that works? Pump. But basically it'll go from like 5 gallons a minute to 100 gallons a minute, just whatever you want.
Okay.
So those are pretty expensive, so we're
Gotcha.
gonna gotta put that in too. But when we do that, then we'll do sub irrigation mains. So we'll do all that, then we won't have a pipe above the ground except in the fields.
Yeah.
Which will be
Okay.
nice. So yeah, if we needed that for rotation, like this year we actually have strawberries at the home farm and strawberries here. But the goal will be from here on out that will never happen again. 1 year they'll be at the home farm, the next year they'll be here, the next year they'll be back there. So we're keeping that really nice, clean rotation going.
And this is also where you mentioned the experiment between black
Yes.
plastic, white plastic, straw.
Yes. So we will straw, everything will get strawed between. He did actually put teff down. You can see that right there. And actually that's like, I guess he put a little bit heavy on the clover down, but that's the clover right there.
Okay.
And then there's teff down in there too. So that's part of the reason of turning the irrigation on. So now once we have the teff in, we have to water, keep it moist for 3 days, basically 72 hours.
Okay.
So every day we'll kick irrigation on to keep it nice and moist. But what will happen is, so the white plastic will delay them probably 5 to 6 days. But then a portion of the white plastic will actually put straw on top of the plants. So instead of just strawing between, we can show you here, we're strawing between here, but then we'll also straw on top of the beds.
Why would you do that?
Because then that will slow them down even further. It will keep the beds cooler and they won't grow as fast.
And what happens if they grow as fast?
They just produce sooner. And because we want to extend our strawberry season as long as possible. The problem is right now is our strawberry season is actually finished the end of May when kids get out of school. And so we don't get a lot of those families. So they have to come on Saturdays, or they have to come in the evening. So we do that, but some parents just want to be done with school and then come out. So that's our goal, is to try to extend that season as late as possible. Part of that will probably be we may go back to a bare root system.
Okay.
Because that actually is technically a later system typically.
Okay.
So we'll try that. We may try that. We'll have to see. But we're doing a couple different things. That's what we're doing over here. Yeah. So we will be doing straw production. That was all cover crop up there this season. A multi-way cover crop. Back there was cover crop too, although it didn't.
So you have this whole farm, not just where the strawberries
the
are.
whole place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. I love that, and like what it means for the future of the farm too.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, we long-term lease, and so that will allow us to get those. So we will be able to do more things like potatoes, possibly winter squash, that kind of stuff. But again, it's one of those things. That's because we want to do it. It doesn't mean we have to do it.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people look at this operation and say that is absolutely, totally not me. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people want to be like, a half acre or, a quarter acre. Or I have a friend down in Texas, and really he focuses his entire farm and is just doing a lot of jams and jellies. And so he grows a product and then takes all what he produces, it turns into a jar and goes to the farmer's market. So again, that's a really cool business model too. What I like to tell people is like the systems and the processes are what are repeatable. So like, building the enterprises, setting up the staff, hiring the right people. That is all stuff that, yes, you may not want to be doing this type of stuff, but that is what's the core aspect of every farm that's essential.
I love that you said that, because we just actually had a comment on one of our older videos actually that said basically that same thing. What is the core fundamentals to make a farm business profitable? Because it can look really hard to do.
Correct.
To make a farm business profitable and diversify on a level that creates balance, where you're not overworked, but you're not, undermining your potential.
Correct.
So
what I like to say is to do it well, you've got to grow the crop 80% as well as it could be grown. I'm not the best strawberry grower. But because I can push together the strawberries, the salad, the carrots, the greenhouse tomatoes, all of those, the ginger, the turmeric, and do those 80% well, that gives us enough crop at a competitive advantage enough. Because there's guys that all they grow is strawberries, and so they can grow them really, really well. We do a lot of work. We do weekly sap testing, and we're constantly on a lot of things. And we've done a lot better in the past years. But we're not the best strawberry grower, and you don't have to be the best. There's a lot of great products out there, and that went completely belly up because they didn't market it well and didn't do all the other things well too. So for us, it's the people, the enterprises, so the types of things we're trying to do, and then the systems and processes. And if you don't have the systems and processes in place, you are going to be in trouble. That's literally what we spend most of our meeting times on at this point in our business is, okay, do we have a process for that? Why did we make this mistake? How did this happen again?
Right.
And then how can we fix that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're definitely getting there.
As we're winding down a little bit, I'm curious then, I've talked with multiple different types of farmers, from homesteaders to, people as big as Will Harris and Joel Salatin, and then everybody in between. And they all have their own thoughts of how, they're able to be successful. And you just mentioned the processes.
Yes.
But if you like could talk to somebody who was in your like exact position, what's one thing that you would do differently to make it be successful where it's at today?
I think one of the challenges always is the speed you grow your businesses. I do spend a lot of time on the businesses. I mean, obviously the speed we're growing, it's a lot of time. So I think that would be the one thing is the speed. You don't have to get there yesterday. So it doesn't, like a lot of people say, well, you have to go full time. You don't have to go full time. You don't feel like you have to. I would always say that when people come to me and like, hey, I wish that I could be a full-time farmer, and be like, well, first you need to build yourself how you make your money, because obviously a lot of times farming is not what they're going to be that's not going to be their money job. It can be, and you can build toward that, but again, as we talked earlier, it takes a lot of money to get there. But build your other job that you have flexibility, because farming is a lot of times not flexible. Certain types can. Let's say you want to start a container business, like greenhouse business. That can be flexible. You can move stuff around. You can, you have bigger windows.
Right.
Strawberries, they need picked today. You better have pickers out here to pick them.
Yeah.
So build in your lifestyle. So that's why I talk to a lot of people, learn a trade or something, so that if they're during the wintertime, you can do what you can really make your good money on, and then you can open up your space for that. Working for yourself in that instance, a lot of time is really good.
I love that idea.
Yeah. I don't, in honesty, I don't really have a trade other than I can do anything. I mean, like we do a lot of stuff, or we do own plumbing, wiring, and all that kind of stuff. We can, and now we actually have people on our team that do that kind of stuff. But we have that aspect of really being able to, we're not beholden to someone else's schedule, which I think is really important. And I think the other thing too is that growing up, we did not have a lot of debt, so we're not beholden to, especially like school loans and stuff. And I feel so for some of these people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars in school loans, because I know what it means that they can't do what they want to do with life. And because I've actually watched some of our crew go through this, is that they're in their late teens, they're doing the school their parents want, which means they're going to be beholden to the system to pay off those debts, to do that job. Again, we had this one girl, as sweet as could be. Everyone loved her, and she loved it here. But her parents wanted her to be something because that's what her mom was and that's what her grandma was. And it kind of was her duty to go do that. And it made me so mad, because she was great here at the farm. Everyone loved her. She would have been fabulous at that. She was kind of doing what the family wanted. I don't know what I kind of said all that to say, but I'm not going to say like follow your dreams or something like that, because I don't think that's like the right advice either. But I guess what I say is don't let someone else tell you what to do with that. Especially if it comes to money and you're saddling yourself with debt. Like, hey, if you want me to go to 4-year college, you pay for it and I'll go. I'll give you 4 years. I'll do the thing that I have to fall back on. But yeah, I think that aspect is autonomy and independence is key. And we've eaten rice and beans and rice for a long time to get where we are. That came up in the office today, because with this whole strawberry thing I was talking to you about, the disease, obviously that has put a huge dent in our fall cash flow. Because of all our wholesale orders being canceled and all of this. So, we were talking in the office, okay, so what are we doing? And like, yeah, it's fine. We'll go back to eating rice and beans. That's just what it is. But to get to, you have to do what no one else will do to be where no one else will be. I think that's a Dave Ramsey thing. But, that's kind of where we are, is that we are building, a long-term system and process. So we've got to give up some things at the beginning to build us a certain platform and base that will let us do, build a platform and base later on.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where we are with that. And again, it doesn't have to be, I think what I was originally saying, it doesn't have to be yesterday. It can take a few years. Even Paul and Sandy, who are my mentors, Sandy was down here 2 weeks ago picking up strawberry tips. So it's just funny. But they had literally just got back from an 8-day vacation where they flew to Iceland and took a cruise from Iceland across, and then it came all the way down Canada and ended in Boston.
Oh, wow.
And so she was here, we were looking at something I was complaining about. We didn't have something. It's like, Michael, it took us 20 years to have that.
Kind of put you back on your heels a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
it's like, yes, it doesn't have to be all at once. I mean, she said, when they started off, a head of lettuce was $1. Think about the amount of lettuce they had to sell at $1 to make $100,000. So this aspect of, I think you see this, and you see what Paul and Sandy have built, and it's a beautiful farm what they've built, but that was 35 years.
Yeah.
This is, this was slightly faster, but I wouldn't recommend anyone else do it this way. It's just, I'm Triple H personality. But yeah, so it doesn't have to be like this. Start small, but I would just say start. Don't just wait and wait and wait. Just do something.
Right.
Even if it's plant one bed of strawberries, or start a few elderberry, put some elderberries in, because you can do something, and you're that much closer to your own independence. But yeah, get independent, because there's a reason they want you dependent.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a wonderful place to end, and thank you so much for having me out. This has been absolutely amazing, and it feels kind of full circle where like I was on your podcast.
Yes.
And now I can come and really see what you were talking about on the podcast and really understand it. So this is awesome, and I just am so thankful that you let me come out. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yes.